Now we have all of this chaos at the top as Georgia sits alone atop of the rankings. And I sat there last week and said, well, what's the difference between Alabama and Georgia? I know Alabama is a complete team, and that's why they're much different than Georgia and should be given different respect. Georgia still can't really throw the football, but I don't think it really matters all that much. They got the win, and Alabama got the loss. And I guarantee you, Nick Saban would much rather be taking a win and complaining about his inability to throw the football than taking a loss to his, for the first time in 25 matchups from one of his former coaches. So Jimbo Fisher getting it done in a season that ironically where Texas A&M like has no expectations now. So we'll kind of start there a little bit. Bama losing to an unranked school for the first time, I believe 100 games, Jimbo getting it done against his former head coach. And what's amazing is when you look at some of these games, you try to figure out like, well, how did they get it done? Did Texas A&M obviously came out, they jumped on them, able to kind of control the game. But Nick Saban's such a good coach. This is why he doesn't lose games typically that he's a significant favorite in, as we mentioned, beating 100 straight teams unranked. Like that only happens when you upsets when you can't get control of it. Well, Nick Saban's such a good coach. He's able to get control of the game. He identifies what teams are doing. And then with that, he's able then to readjust, make the corrections, settle a squad. And you may not necessarily blow him out, even though typically he does, but you're able to reassess where you're at, solve the problem, and then just ultimately go out and win the game. And this is what was crazy. What happened in that Bama game is the fact that they were losing. They came back. They appeared to steady the ship, and they take a lead 38-31. And at that point, Texas A&M, they've got no bullets left in the chamber. You feel like they've given them everything they've had. They don't have anything else left. They're not going to be able to complete this upset. The 12th man had been behind them. They're running on fumes. They haven't really seen much happen in the second half, especially as you got later in the game. And then all of a sudden, they're able to pivot, go down and score, ultimately get the ball back, go kick the field goal, and you get the win. And it's just so rare for Nick Saban when he had control of the game at 38-31 to see that happen, because it wasn't like Bama turned the football over a ton. They just didn't have a ton of crazy penalties. Their biggest problem, they couldn't handle the blitz. They were getting A&M was bringing pressure from everywhere, and Bama's line had a hard time picking that up. And so when that happens, obviously your quarterback's going to be uncomfortable. And because of that, ultimately it led to a Bama loss. And so now they drop back. They're the highest ranked one-loss team, sitting ahead of Ohio State by one spot, still at fifth. It's still obviously a viable contender to make the playoffs. It's not like this loss is going to hamstring Bama. They didn't lose to UAB. They lost to A&M. And even though A&M wasn't ranked, they were at the beginning of the season. And at one point in time, they were highly regarded. So I think Bama will be fine. But they do have some issues. They don't have the elite receivers. They've got Jamison Williams, good, very good player on the outside, but I don't think they have the depth of talent. And that's going to happen. And this is like not an insult to Alabama. This is going to happen when you lose 4 first-round receivers over a couple of years. Eventually, some of those 5-star guys, like they don't all become first-rounders, no matter how well you develop. And so some guys, for whatever reason, aren't quite there. They get, Jamison Williams from the transfer portal from Ohio State. He's very, very talented, a little bit raw, but he has a huge game. And it's just not enough as A&M gives them their first loss. So like that gets everybody excited because college football, everyone wants to see the underdog win and be able to get it done. Auburn, the underdog that I thought might be able to get it done from one of those top 2 teams, failed miserably. Bo Nix, it's frustrating because, I don't like to bash college players because, they're college guys. They're doing the best that they can. They do get NIL money, but they're not paid by the university. And, coach picks them, they select them, they become the starting quarterback. And then ultimately, they're going to receive a disproportionate amount of the success and the blame when things go wrong. And so, Auburn really couldn't get it going much offensively. Georgia, they're a juggernaut. I thought Auburn would be able to slow them down running the football. And I think they did at times. They were able to have some success, but I want to see someone to actually force Georgia, and either whether it's Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels, whoever is back there, I want to try to see if they can throw the football, because I do believe against an Alabama who, like I said, just got beat. They would have to throw it. We'll see if, in Iowa, who has a very physical, tough run defense, if they could force them to throw the ball, should that happen, or in Ohio State. OU, I mean, based upon this, before we get into Red River here, I mean, I don't think their defense, well, they played better. Bijan Robinson kind of had his day. So I don't think you have to worry about them just locking down the run just yet. But Bama losing, Georgia taking care of business, and now they're the undisputed number one.